Mahabharata is an earlier Indonesian book. Section 4 to Section 5. Santo Saba works. Created as a discourse to scientists based on academic studies and studies, in an effort to restore the true history of Indonesia. Indonesia Arya. By Santo Saba. Exploration and research. Complete info. WhatsApp to +62 813 2132 9787. Abhimanyu in Kakawin Bharatayuddha. The quote below is taken from Kakawin Bharatayuddha, who tells of the last battle of the Abhimanyu. Translation Sloka. Enka sang Dharmasutadi Jijimaladating Kahiglariranath Korawa, upon tan hana sangwarkodara Dhananjaya Vananga Rumampakong glur. Nying sang Parthasudabhimanyu Formulaka glur Mahadwaya, Mangaurulingarangru Sakmwanguma Suktuhuiwijili Radadantama. At that time Yudhishthira was stunned to see the battle formation of the king of Korawa, because Bhima and Arjuna were not there even though they were the ones who could destroy it. Only Arjuna's son, namely Abhimanyu, was willing to destroy the formation arranged by priest Drona. He said that he was sure he could storm and enter the formation, only that he didn't know how to get out of the formation. Even Mankana Sigra Sahasa enters Marawaka re Glur Maha Dwaya. The Parthatmajakura Sara Rumusak Saksika Linankaranero, Cern Angwaya Halilongkap Sang Abhimanyukarika Anan Suyodana. Anghyangdran Akar Papulikaran Asankurupati Malayumarinu C. After that, they immediately split open and fiercely attacked the priestess Drona formation. The Abhimanyu is the force that destroys the information with the shot of arrows. As a result of Abhimanyu's attack, the formation was crushed to the point of Duryodhana's defenses. With this Dona and creep counterattack, so that Duryodhana can run away and not be pursued again. Enda tan dwalwang I katru kakti mangaran kurtasuda sawatke radbala. Mawang satyakrawa kura manta na tan pangud ili pinanalinankaran. Lawan waravacheshaputra kurunathamadamalara kokalanpana. Kyatingkora wawang kalakshmanakumarangaranika kaishsuyodhana. With this, it is undeniable that powerful enemies have begun to decrease, such as Kretuda and the Rihadbala family. Also the brave and crazy Satyaswara who fought was shot before he could inflict the slightest damage from being showered with arrows. The brave son of the king of Karawa also died after he was stabbed by an arrow. This son was very well known among the Kaurava family, namely Laxmanakumara, whom Suyodhana loved. Katakrodasakora Walanamana Hiralawanakwasarathy. Tan Waktan Tanga Waktangan Dental Tribe D Ada Wadana Linak Shakinarpan. Menkan Parthasutaj Walamerk Anyakramakapalagapungaling Barrel. Diramuk Manj Yukanjigdm Adan Pia Hamakiwuling Suyodhana. At that time the whole family of Kauravas became angry, and they continued to fire their guns. Both the horse and the driver, Abhimanyu's body, hands, feet, back, chest and face were hit by hundreds of arrows. With this Abhimanyu was excited. He grasped the disc and with a broken arrow he launched an attack. With determination she went on a rampage to find a name sent. With a vengeful heart, he fell at the hands of Suyodhana. Ripatasangabhimaniyuringran anga. Tanuharaskati savaling tahas mas. Hananangaragakalanang single display. Sanaka alindi sahantaminganintan. When Abhimanyu was killed in battle, his body was crushed. Beautiful to look at like moss in a golden roof. The corpse was visible in the moonlight and had been torn apart, turning smooth like a cucumber. Adi flat. The Indian version of the Mahabharata, Adiratha is a charioteer and is the adoptive father of Duke Karna. He served as charioteer for Raja Dhritarashtra. His son Karna became a tough knight and king in Anga and participated in the war in Kurukshetra. Adarata picks up Karna, Radheya, from the river Ganga, during his morning prayers. At first Adira saw something sparkling in the middle of the river, like a floating jewel. However, after the object approached, Adarata realized that it was a box. Then he swam to reach the box, and found that there was a baby in it. Inside the box was also wrapped in armor and earrings. After picking up the baby, Adarata immediately informed his wife, namely Radha. Then they named the baby Wasasana, because when she was found, the child was accompanied by a suit of armor and earrings. Adarata often called him Radheya, which literally means Radha's son. Adarata and Radha took care of Radheya with great affection. When Radheya was 16 years old, Adarata gave him a chariot and horse. But Radheya's interest was in the science of war and arrows. He was not interested in being evicted like his father. By observing this personality, Adarata was convinced that Radheya was a Kshatriya descendant. Then, feeling that Radheya was old enough to know his origins, Adarata and Radha also told about Radheya's past. They also told him where he was picked up and how he was at that time. After hearing the explanation of his parents, Radheya went away, then studied with Parasurama, Rama Bhargava, to become a knight. Years later, when a tournament was held in Hastinapura, Radheya participated even though he was not invited. At the event, Duryodhana appointed Radheya to be king in Anga, because the region did not yet have a king. After knowing that his son was crowned king, Adarata appeared in the crowd of Hastinapura residents to give his blessing to Radheya. The appearance of Radheya was a source of ridicule for Bhima, because Radheya, whom he considered a knight, turned out to be the son of a coachman. Hearing the taunts, Radheya could only hold back his anger, while Duryodhana defended him. Amba. Amba, Sanskrit. Amba is the eldest daughter of a king in the Kasi kingdom in the Indian version of the Mahabharata epic. Together with 3 other siblings, namely Ambika and Ambalika, Amba was brought to Hastinapura by Bhisma to be handed over to Satyavati and married to his younger brother named Visitravira, the king of Hastinapura. Contests in the Kasi kingdom. According to tradition, it has been a tradition for the Kasi kingdom to give children to princes of Kuru descent, but this tradition was not implemented when Visitravira inherited the throne of Hastinapura, even though he was a prince of Kuru descent. The Kasi kingdom chose to find her daughter's soul mate through a contest. To marry Visitravira with the Kasi daughters, Bhisma came to the competition venue. He beat all the participants there, including King Salwa, who was said to be tough. Bhisma brought Amba right when Amba chose Salwa as her husband, but it was not known by Bhisma and Amba was too afraid to say it. Together with 3 other siblings, namely Ambika and Ambalika, Bhisma brought Amba to Hastinapura to marry Visitravira. Amba's 2 younger siblings were married to Visitravira, but Amba's heart was tied to Salwa. After Ambam explained that he had chosen Salwa as her husband, Visitravira felt that it was not good to marry a woman who already loved someone else. Finally he allowed Amba to go to Salwa. When Amba arrived at Salwa's palace, he was rejected because Salwa was reluctant to marry the woman he had taken from him. Because Salwa had been defeated by Bhishma, then Salwa felt that the one who deserved to marry Amba was Bhishma. So Amba returned to Hastinapura to marry Bhishma. But Bhishma, who vowed not to be married for life, refused to marry Amba. Finally Amba's life is adrift in the forest. He was not accepted by Salwa, nor by Bhisma. In his heart, there arose hatred towards Bhishma, the person who separated him from Salwa. In the forest, Amba met Rezi Hatrawahana, his grandfather. After knowing the problem Amba was facing, the sage asked for help from Rama Bhargava or Parasurama, Bhisma's teacher. Parasurama persuaded Bhisma to marry Amba. Because Bhishma keeps on declaring denial, Parasurama became angry and then challenged Bhishma to fight. The fight between Parasurama and Bhishma was fierce and ended after the gods intervened in the matter. After Parasurama failed to persuade Bhishma, Amba went wandering and meditated. Ayamemuha the gods, begging to see Bhishma die. Sangmukha, son of the god Sankara, appeared in front of Amba while giving a flower necklace. He said that the person who wore the flower necklace would become Bhisma's killer. After receiving the gift, Amba went on a journey to find a knight who was willing to wear his flower necklace. Although there was a chance of success as the necklace was given by a trustworthy god, no one was willing to wear it after knowing that the person to deal with was Bhishma. When Ambia met King Drapada, his request was also rejected because the king was afraid to fight Bhishma. Finally Amba threw his flower wreath at the stake of the Rajadrapada meeting hall, after which he left angrily. The wreath was closely guarded and no one dared to touch it. With hatred towards Bhishma, Amba performed austere asceticism. In his mind there was only a desire to see Bhishma die. Because of his perseverance, Lord Sankarama appeared and said that Amba would be reincarnated as the killer of Bhishma. The god also said that Amba's hatred for Bhishma would not go away after reincarnating. After hearing the notification from the god, Amba made a bonfire, then burned himself. In another version, there is different information regarding Amba's death. It is told that Bhishma wandered away from Amba because he refused to marry, but Amba always followed him. Finally, Bhishma pointed an arrow at Amba, to frighten him so that he would immediately leave. In his later life, Amba is reincarnated as a heroine, who sided with Pandava during the war in Kurukshetra. Srikandi is the son of King Drupada from the special kingdom of Panchala. At birth, he was female, but as an adult he changed sex with the help of a yaksa. Srikandi was the one who was willing to wear Dewa Sankara's necklace as a sign that he was going to kill Bhishma. Amba in the Javanese puppet. Amba's life story between the Adiparva book, the first book of the Mahabharata series, and Javanese puppets has several differences, such as the names of figures and kingdoms in India. This is because the stories in Java do not adapt and are free from the influence of Indian stories. Dewi Amba is the eldest daughter of 3 children, the daughter of Prabhu Dharmahambara, Rajanagara Gyantipura with the Parameshwari Dewi Swargandini. Her 2 younger siblings are named Dewi Ambika, Ambalika, and Dewi Ambiki, Ambaliki. Amba and her 2 younger siblings are the daughters of Boyangan Bhisma, Dewabrata, the son of Prabhusantanu with Dewi Janavi, Dewi Ganga, from Hastinapura, who has won the competition in the country of Gyantipura by killing Wamukha and Arafuka. Feeling that he had previously been engaged to King Citramukha, Rajanagara Swantipura, Amba begged Dewabrata to return it to King Citramukha. Then the problem began to arise because Amba was rejected by King Citramukha and since becoming the daughter of Bhisma's Boyangan. Dewabrata also rejected Amba's wish to come to Hastinapura. Because Amba kept pushing and forcing him, finally he accidentally died by Dewabrata's arrow, which originally only intended to frighten him. Before dying, Amba issued a curse: he would avenge his death with a female soldier, namely Srikandi. Amba's curse against Dewabrata came true. In the Bharatayuddha war, his spirit incarnated in Srikandi's body and succeeded in killing Bhishma, Dewabrata. Ambalika. In the Indian version of the Mahabharata, Ambalika is the daughter of King Kasi and wife of Visitrawirya, Raja Hastinapura. Together with his brothers, namely Amba and Ambika, he was captured by Bhisma in a contest. Bhisma challenged the kings and princes who had gathered and then conquered all of them. Bhisma presented them to Satyavati to be married to Visitrawirya. But then Visitrawirya died young before giving birth to Ambalika. After the death of Visitrawirya, Bhisma's mother, Satyavati, submitted a request to Resi Veda Vyasa, Bhagawan Vyasa, to continue the descent of the Kuru dynasty. According to Satyavati's request, Sang Bhagawan visited Visitrawirya's wife to reward them with a son. Satyavati asked Ambalika not to close her eyes so as not to give birth to a blind son like herself. Obedient to the orders of his father-in-law, he continued not to close his eyes, but he turned pale after seeing the magnificent appearance of the Lord. Therefore, Pandu his son, the father of the Pandavas, was born with a pale face. Ambalika lived for some time in Hastinapura until he had grandchildren, namely the Pandavas and the Kauravas. When his son, Pandu, died, his heart was beaten. On the advice of Satyavati, Ambalika left her worldly life and went to the forest. Together with Ambika, the 3 of them left the successors of the Kuru dynasty in Hastinapura. Ambika. In the Indian version of the Mahabharata, Ambika is the daughter of King Kasi and wife of Visitrawirya, Raja Hastinapura. When Vyasa visited Ambika, he saw that Vyasa's appearance was terrifying and his appearance was frightening with burning eyes. In her terrified state, she closed her eyes and didn't dare to open them. Therefore, Dhritarashtra, his son, the father of the Kauravas, was born blind. After Dhritarashtra's birth, when Satyavati asked Vyasa to visit Ambika for the second time, Ambika refused to come and sent a servant to replace her. So the servant gave birth to Vidura, who was later raised as the younger brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Ambika lived for a while until he had grandchildren, namely Pandavas and the Kauravas. Together with Ambalika, the 3 of them went into the forest leaving Hastinapura, and let the successor of the Kuru dynasty determine their own destiny. Anantaraja, or more often abbreviated as Antaraya, is one of the puppet characters not found in the Indian version of the Mahabharata, because it is an original literary work that originated and existed only in the archipelago of Java Island, which may have been inspired by the story of the Mahabharata that existed long before he wrote the Indian version of the Mahabharata or the Javanese version. He is the eldest son of Rekodara or Bhimasena from the Pandava family. In the Surakarta version of classical puppetry, Antareya is another name for Antasena, while the Yogyakarta version mentions Antasena as another sister of Antareya's mother, apart from Gatutvaka. Meanwhile, in the puppeteer era, the Surakarta version of the puppeteers generally also tells the story of Antareya and Antasena as two different figures. Antareya was the eldest son of Bhimasena, who was born from Nagajini, the daughter of Bhattara Anantaboga, the god of the serpent race. Bhima and Nagajini's marriage took place after the fire at Balazagala Gala, where the Kauravas tried to kill the Pandavas as if by accident. Bhima then left Nagajini pregnant. Antareya was born and raised by Nagajini until when he grew up he decided to look for his real father. Armed with the Napakawaka heritage given by Anantaboga and the Mustkabumi ring given by Nagajini, Antareya departed for the kingdom of Amarta. In the middle of the road Antareya found the body of a woman loaded in a boat without a driver. By using Napakawaka, Antareya brought the woman to life, who was none other than Subhadra, Arjuna's wife. Suddenly, Gatutvaka appeared to attack Antareya. Gatutvaka is indeed being assigned to monitor Subhadra's corpse in order to catch the perpetrator of the murder of his aunt. Subhadra, who has come back to life, interrupts the two nephews and introduces each other. Antareya and Gatutvaka were happy with the meeting. The two sons of Bhima also worked together and finally managed to catch the real Subhadra murderer, namely Barisrawa. The story of Antareya's appearance for the first time in Javanese puppetry is usually called the story of Sumbhadra Larang. Antareya's supernatural powers had the Upasanta Aegean given by Hyang Anantaboga. His tongue is very powerful. Any creature that is licked by the soles of his feet will meet death. Antareya had a glass skin, so he was immune to weapons. He also has the Mustikabhumi ring, given to him by his mother, which has supernatural powers, keeps him away from death as long as he touches the earth and the ground, and can be used to bring death back to life outside of destiny. Another power of Anantareya is that he can live and walk in the earth. Anantareya's nature is honest, quiet, very devoted to the elders and loves the young, is willing to sacrifice and has great confidence in the Creator. He married Dui Gangi, the daughter of Prabhu Gangapranawa, the king of snakes in Taung Narmada, and had the son Arya Danarwenda. When he grew up, Anantareya became king in the country of Jengkarbhumi with the title Prabhu Nagabaganda. He died before the Bharatayuddha war on the orders of King Kresna by licking the soles of his feet as to were victims for victory of the Pandava family in the Bharatayuddha war. Arjuna. The Indian version of Arjuna is the name of a Mahabharata figure. He was known as the Pandava who was charming and gentle. He was the son of Prabhu Pandudvanada, the king of Hastinapura, with Dui Kunti or Dui Prita, the daughter of Prabhu Surasena, the king of the Yadava Wangsa in Mandura. Arjuna is a close friend of Krishna's, namely the Avatara incarnation of Bhattara Vishnu who came to the world to save the world from evil. Arjuna was also one of the people who had witnessed Kresna's Wuud universe before the Bharatayuddha war took place. He also accepted the Bhagavad-gita or Saint's Song, which is a sacred discourse that Krishna delivered to him just before the Bharatayuddha war took place because Arjuna was still reluctant to fulfill his obligations. Arjuna in Hindu mythology, other names are Falguna, Jishnu, Kriti, Bharatasrasta, Sayasaki, Swetawahana, Rihatnala. Sanskrit spelling. Arjuna, Arjun, appears in the book Mahabharata, Bhagavad-gita, Purana, and others. The origin of Hastinapura, Kuru kingdom, Pasupati arrows, Astra Brahma arrows, Gandiva bows, and others. Her spouse Draupadi, Subhadra, Ulupi, and Citrangada, her children were named Abhimanyu, Irawan, Babruwahana, and Srutakirti. The meaning of the name, in Sanskrit, literally the word Arjuna means, shining bright, white, clean. Judging from its meaning, the word Arjuna can mean, honest in face and mind. Arjuna earned the nickname, Kurusrezda, which means, the best descendant of the Kuru dynasty. He was the chosen human who had the opportunity to receive a very noble divine discourse from Krishna, who is known as Bhagavad-gita, God's song. It has 10 names: Arjuna, Falguna, Jishnu, Kirti, Shwetawahana, Vibhutsu, Vijaya, Partha, Sayashachi, also likened to Sabyasachi, and Dhananjaya. When he was asked about his 10 names as proof of identity, he replied, "My 10 names are Arjuna, Falguna, Jishnu, Kirti, Shwetawahana, Wibutsu, Vijaya, Partha, Sayashachi and Dhananjaya. Called Dhananjaya when I conquered all kings at the time of Yadnya Rajasuya and collected their treasure. I always fight till the end and I always win, that's why I'm called Vijaya. The horse that Lord Agni gave me is white, which is why I am called Shwetawahana. My father Indra gave me a beautiful crown when I was with him, that's why I was called Kriti. I have never fought fraudulently in battle, which is why I was called Wibutsu. I never scare my enemies viciously, I can use both hands when shooting Anapana, which is why I am called Sayashachi. My face is unique like that of an Arjun tree, and my name is, the one that never rots, which is why I am called Arjuna. I was born on the slopes of Mount Himawan, in a place called Satsringa on the day when the star of Uttara Falguni was above, which is why I was called Falguna. I am called Jishnu because I get great when I get angry. My mother is called Pritha, so I am also called Partha. I swear that I will destroy everyone who injures my brother Yudhishthira and sows his blood on the earth. I cannot be conquered by anyone.